We have to ask ourselves the question, who controls the images of Black America in society? Now, first and foremost, it's an individual responsibility to control your own image. However, there are many factors in place to shape society's perception of American blacks. They've done a masterful job worldwide because the American black is frowned upon everywhere. Even the dark-skinned people of Africa don't have a favorable opinion of American blacks. Now, do your own research on this, but American blacks are actually not African. But this is not the video for that lesson. Since we know that there are certain perceptions about American blacks, we must do a proper job of writing our own brand image. What I'm talking about is the slanted way that society promotes the image of the black race or culture. We have to look at who controls the media. And when I say media, that goes to television, newspapers, music, most notably gangster rap, hip-hop, because non-blacks write the lyrics for that stuff. And yes, movies as well. Now, take the recent riot in Baltimore for example. Whether or not you agree with them is not the point I want to make here. However, when other riots take place in the name of blowing off steam, the participants are not labeled as thugs. They're said to be blowing off steam. Their team lost or their team won. It slips from my memory very quickly that there was just such an event as reaching as March Madness when Kentucky lost to Wisconsin in the Final Four after almost having a perfect season. Or how about the imagery when we look at homosexuality? We forget that the Greeks had a fascination with male genitalia, and for years many whites have been openly homosexual. But when Michael Sam and Jason Collins came out as homosexual, the President of the United States stopped what he's doing to place a phone call to congratulate them on being good Americans. I don't remember anyone calling Rock Hudson's family Doogie Howes or Ellen DeGeneres, but look at what happened. Homosexual legislation passed under the half-black president. Now, PETA has killed more than 33,000 animals since 1998. These aren't my figures. But Michael Vick became the face of animal cruelty and actually served prison time. Vick never killed any animals as far as we know, but he served prison time for it. Now, if Michael Vick was actually running a dog-fighting business, that means other people were running dog-fighting businesses as well. But Vick got painted as the villain. What are PETA's thoughts on Vick? The organization think Michael Vick should be shunned after his conviction and prison sentence for running a dog-fighting ring. People who abuse animals don't deserve to be rewarded, a PETA spokesman said. Now, when Tim Tebow was always in our faces, his faith was always on display. Now, don't go telling me I shouldn't talk about his faith. This isn't about his faith. This is about imagery. Tebowing, as it was called, had captured the nation and NFL fans everywhere. Hussein Abdullah of the Kansas City Chiefs was actually penalized when he knelt in the end zone to give glory to Allah, which was a display of his faith. This shouldn't have been an issue, but since this guy prayed to his Muslim God, it became a problem because Muslims are supposed to be the enemy. When we look at welfare rolls across the country, many times the black female will be the face of welfare. When one hears women on welfare, the black female with many illegitimate children in tow is always the imagery presented. What if I told you that whites win that battle? Many times when vast numbers are presented, it is attributed to whites being a larger population in society, and blacks are normally the ones that normally have the higher percentages. This time, whites win that battle too. When looking at those on the public dole, 42% of white Americans receive some type of government help each month compared to 27% of blacks. Based on current population numbers, that means over 100 million whites receive assistance and right under 12 million blacks receive assistance. So when we look at that, almost half of white America and less than 1/3 of blacks receive welfare. Again, I'm not talking about an issue of need. I'm talking about one of imagery and perception. And blacks get painted as the lazy. Looking across our public school spectrum, we see time and time again where the black kids, in most cases the black boys, who are active, which is how boys are supposed to be, are labeled as disruptive and need to be medicated. The black boys need to be medicated to control their unruly behavior. The black boys normally get suspended for their unruly behavior. Never mind that recess has been removed in practically every school around the country and has been for many years. And recess was actually the way for boys to release pent-up energy throughout the day. Now contrast that with the young white kids, boys I'm talking about. They're more likely to be allowed to get counseling for their disruptive or unruly behavior. Many parents don't help themselves because they have found out that this new behavior is a new way to develop an income stream by getting their kids labeled. Not only is the kid labeled in school, he gets labeled for life. Many black kids are placed on Ritalin or something similar, whereas white kids are prescribed different psychotropic drugs. Both drugs are now behavior modification drugs, but the white version allows them to have an excuse for their irrational and poor behavior, such as those guys who shoot up public places around the country. Your James Home, your Columbine shooters, the guy that, I don't think the guy that shot up Virginia Tech was white. I think he might have been Asian, but you get the point I'm making. But they are given excuses for their behavior, and blacks are labeled as unruly and uncontrollable savages. Y'all hear about the Japanese ladies over there talking about how handsome a gorilla is? But that's not the place for this one. When the NFL players or NBA players get into a fight, they're always talked about as being unable to control themselves and their attitudes. When we take a look at the NHL, they have fights almost every game, but we don't hear anybody talk about that. What's the major difference in these two sports? Three sports, I should say. One is predominantly white, and the other two are predominantly black. You see a pattern here? I just wanted to point that out. You know, I recently went downtown for jury duty, and there were many news stations with their cameras outside of the courtrooms. And guess who the news crews were asking questions? It wasn't people of other races. It wasn't black men dressed like me with slacks and my shirt tucked in. It was the women who had head rags on their heads and dressed like they got out of bed and just showed up for court. And the ones they were interviewing, they weren't there to serve on jury duty. They were actually serving. I mean, not serving. They were actually down there for some ticket of some sort. What am I saying in all of this? Since the media continues to shape our images and present their version to society, we must do better at putting our best foot forward daily. We should encourage our young men to pull their pants up and put a belt on, as well as tucking their shirts. We can tell our young women to stop leaving their homes with head rags on and wearing pajamas and house robes in public. I mean, I went to the grocery store the other day and I was getting out my vehicle and there was a woman coming out of the store with a head rag on, pajamas, house robe, and house slippers on. I mean, what does that say about your self-image? But we need to teach our youth, and unfortunately, we have to teach our adults today too. We have to teach them how to cultivate a positive attitude and a stronger sense of self-worth. The reason our youth and grown-ups leave their homes like this is because the self-image is poor and their self-esteem is low. Work on building confidence. Pick up and read a positive book. A friend sent me a text the other day and asked how I kept my sanity in spite of everything. I replied to him, I read every day. I hardly watch television. We must be the ones who prove to society that we are not the imagery that's presented to them. Success doesn't come to those who whine and complain. It comes to those who go to work in spite of. Since we have the thought process that whites always treat us bad, we must do a better job of how we present ourselves. In business, we call it branding or imaging. Society and the media give the image of us, and we do a masterful job of living down to that image. Since the media is doing us a disservice with our image, that's me right there, we have to fix it. Nothing is ever 100%. So if you and your kids don't fit this category, that's great. Let's help our other brothers and sisters understand this so we can move our race forward in a positive light. One day, I will share how the images got whitewashed, how the black images got whitewashed, and I will talk about the reasons behind doing it. If we go by what is taught and what is told, no blacks ever accomplished anything or did anything great historically.